fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got with the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Oh.
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get involved!
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome everyone to round 5 of the Ozicar Skip Barber Series. Tonight, something a little different. One of the shortest tracks on iRacing. We head to Monza and drive on the junior layout. Hello, my name is Jay Kennedy. Alongside me for tonight's racing, Nick Scrave. Nick, this is going to be very, very quick. It's going to be very, very short laps, but it's going to be very, very tight and close.
Yeah, this is almost like the Monza karting circuit. It's a super, super short track. We're just discussing a little bit before. The laps are well under a minute, and only 4 corners. So, yeah, there's going to be lots of racing and a lot of fast action.
100%. The drivers have finished qualifying 58-second lap times for the drivers, and we will go through our starting grid because we have a very, very big field turning up for tonight's racing. It starts off with Alex McKellar and Russell Clark on the front row, Ben Snell and Alex John on the second row, with Daniel Hederscheid and Kristen Perez making his return to the series after round 1. They are on the third row. Fourth row is James Chastanoff and Scott Barton, with Nathan Verne and Tim Corn on the fifth row, Braden Martin and Dennis Hancock 11th and 12th. Then we've got Dean Russell, Stafford Marsland, Peter Wilkinson, Sean Doyle, Justin Howe, Ira Felberg, and we keep going through our drivers: Jeremy Bush, Darren Lassou, Isaac Summers, Leon Williams, Stuart Crawford, Cameron Cousins, rounding out our field. 24 drivers around this track. It's going to mean that we're going to see some very, very interesting racing, with it being so tight and so short of a lap.
Yeah, and definitely with the championship as well. It's such a strong field. You really don't want to make any mistakes and slip down the back there.
Just waiting for everyone to grid up. We've got a couple of drivers who are not quite up on the grid yet, but we aren't too far away from getting racing underway. Of course, we're back to our traditional format tonight of a 15-minute sprint race and then a 25-minute race with a pit stop. So the endurance races, or the longer races, are done for this season, and we head back into standard racing mode with only 2 or 3 drivers left to get on the grid. They'll want to get themselves sorted rather quickly. 15 laps ahead for the drivers in this first race.
Yeah, that's right. It's a bit of an all-star track series. So yeah, we've had places like Monza and in the UK and Europe and Australia. So it's been really exciting seeing where these skip barbers are going.
100%. Looks like everyone is on the grid except for Isaac Summers, just the last of our drivers to take to the grid. And only a couple of seconds left on the clock, so you need to hurry up to get on to the circuit. But everyone else is ready to go. Alex McKellar at the front of the field. No stranger to being at the front. Revs are rising, and we get ready to get this race underway. Green flag flies, and very, very even launch from pretty much everyone at the front of the field. But a very, very short run to turn 1 will mean that they've got to get on the brakes and get themselves sorted very, very quickly before they cut through the infield. And these are the only differentiating corners that you see from the normal layout of this Monza circuit before we're back on at the exit of the Ascari chicane. And we'll run the Parabolica. And that is a full lap of this circuit. There is nothing to it. The laps are done very, very quickly, and we're going to see a lot of this passing at the front.
Yeah, I was just seeing through that extra section how tight it is. Like, these skip barbers are so small there. We're just seeing, I think it's Nathan Clark there up the inside. Knowing that there is cold tyres at the moment, you'll see everyone just squirming as they try and get onto, we could say, the power, like the very small amount of power here that the skip barbers have.
Russell Clark will lead the first lap, but they're going to go 4 wide down the front straight. They'll need to sort that out very, very quickly because it is basically 1 car wide through this middle section. Very, very heavy braking zone. They're still 2 by 2. They will sort themselves into single file very quickly. Side by side through that little only left-hander on the circuit. Can get very, very dangerous, but Ben Snell is the one that comes out ahead. At the moment, top 6 separated by a second, nothing in it. There's been an incident at the back of the field. That is Sean Doyle, Stuart Crawford and Isaac Summers all involved. We're going to stay at the front though, 4 wide. This is incredible.
Yeah, a little bit of bumping there. I think I might have seen Christian Perez might have just tapped it. He's just tapped one of the Milo cars as well there. That's taken quite a few cars there. So thankfully they managed to get themselves off the racing line pretty quickly.
Yeah, Russell Clark's lost his rear wing, and James Chastanoff as well. He's got heavy damage. He's limping it back to the pits. At the front of the field, Snell, McCullough, John. There's a little bit of a gap actually between second and third now, so they have settled into the line a little bit. And a big mistake there from Ben Snell's let McCullough back through, and there's an incident back. That's Alex John having an issue there. Something bizarre's happened to Alex John there. I'm going to have to try and dissect a couple of these incidents here, but it's very, very hard to because there's so much action going on.
Yeah, we have seen a few of those Simfinity cars there. Pretty distinct in a few incidents. I think that might have been Ira Felberg in that incident as well, but seeing a few of his compatriots of Daniel Hedderschild and Scott Barton there in 3rd and 4th place.
Scott Barton and Daniel Hedderschild both going very, very nicely at the moment as drag race down the front straight. And across the line, just McCullough at the line, but sorry, it was just Snell ahead, and now McCullough's taken the lead back. 3 wide back in the field with Dean Russell, Daniel Hedderschild, Russell around. Oh, this is really messy, this incident. Felberg, Cornt involved. That's Tim Cornt, sorry, stopped there. Dean Russell still in trouble as well. Braden Martin was involved. He was missing all of his front end. This has been a messy 2nd or 3rd lap, and 4th lap even.
Yeah, this is usually for Ozicar. There's not too much action. There's always quite a lot of overtaking, but I think yeah, this short circuit and this big field number has caught a few off quite by surprise. You can see there with McCullough and Ben Snell, almost like a criterium race now. They're trying to work there together. Scott Barlin just under 2 seconds back there. We're just going to cut to a replay and have a look at a few of these incidents that we've got.
Yep, so this is the incident involving Cornt, Braden Martin, and Dean Russell as well. And I think the car there of Braden Martin may have just outbroke himself a little bit there and made contact with Dean Russell. We're going back a little bit further, and we'll go to the incident around Snell and James Chastanoff as well. We'll get that up on screen now. Here it is. So Chastanoff on the inside. I think he's an innocent bystander in this. There's the car around of Russell Clark missing his rear wing. And yeah, that's just an unfortunate incident there. Hard racing in these very, very tight battle packs.
Yeah, and that's quite a few of the big hitters out there for this race. So you can imagine we're a little bit away down the championship now, so points are just so critical at the moment. And yeah, seeing Clark and Chastanoff both having issues, so that's really going to give the upper hand now to, I think it was Ben Snell and McCullough.
Yep, Snell and McCullough.
Sliding it through there, through that little chicane.
Daniel Hedderschild into the pits as well. So we've only got 15 drivers that have not made a trip into the pit lane in this race. As see Peter Wilkinson also having issues, so he's out of the race now too. So make that 14 drivers. And the front of the field has settled a little bit, and you're right, it is very much two-car tandem working together, trying to break away. Make sure Scott Barton can't close that gap in, because if they fight too hard, they'll allow Barton back in with the draft, and he'll close in that gap very, very quickly. It won't take him much of a draft to close it in. But these two are very, very experienced drivers. They'll know what to do and how to make sure they maintain that gap.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, with Scott Barton too, he's just outside that draft limit there, and you can see him dropping now 2.5 seconds from Snell. So he's almost going to have to bank on maybe a bit of a mistake from either Snell or McKellar to kind of climb back on. And he's actually made it. Oh, and he's starting to slide down the order there. Oh, we can see him turned around. So bit of a mistake there by Ben Snell.
By Scott Barton, you mean?
Scott Barton.
You might have scared a couple of people watching if you're saying Ben Snell. Ben Snell's still at the lead, but yeah, Scott Barton, just a mistake there. And this is very, very smart from these two. They're just letting each other go, letting the other one pull away, and now they've got a 6-second advantage. So they might start fighting a little bit more. Jeremy Bush and Stafford Marsland have got Russell Clark in behind. Clark was passed by these two on that previous lap and won't have much in regards to full pace. There's a fair bit of damage to the front wing and no rear wing, but we know how quick he is, so he'll make sure that he can apply as much pressure as he can to these guys. Might not be too easy for him to get by. Runs a little bit wide, probably suffering a little bit with that lack of downforce, but Stafford Marsland going to try and hold on to this spot. This is for 6th, 7th and 8th position. Up ahead, someone probably wouldn't have thought they were anywhere near a chance of being contenders for a podium. Dennis Hancock and Justin Howe fighting over P3 right now.
Yeah, we can see been such a battle of attrition there at the moment as well, with Ira Felberg up in the 5th place. He was down as much as, I think, around 14th or 15th, but with so many incidents, it's actually played right into his hands there. So great work by Dennis Hancock. Yeah, definitely one of the Aussie car regulars and been there from the start. So, and Justin Howe too, giving a hand as well with race control and working on a bunch of other series as well. So great to see these two out there. Justin Howe pitching that Skip Barber a little bit sideways there into that first corner.
Yep, and sorry, it was up from 17th position. So keeping it out of trouble is going to be the key to good results in this race and probably in the second race as well, based on the attrition we've seen in this one. Jeremy Bush in 6th, that's great for him. And Ira Felberg, just said P5, started at 18th. It's very, very good progression through the field for him. We're hoping that continues later on for the main event coming up after this race finishes. Of course, there's another 25-minute race to come later on tonight as the leaders, surprise, surprise, have changed again. Tom McKellar leads them into turn 1.
Just a little bit of a brake lock up there by McKellar, but sitting in pretty well. You can see that almost daylight between those two all the way down to Justin Howe there, who's still defending off, I think it was Dennis Hancock as well. So a few little battle packs forming here at the moment, but yeah, McKellar and Snell really have a wrangle on this race here at the moment.
100%, an 8-second advantage they have over Justin Howe. He and Dennis Hancock, as you said, they're fighting over that last podium spot there, but you want to be careful to not fight too much and allow Ira Felberg to close that gap in, because we know that Ira is a very, very consistent driver. He's not likely to make a mistake. But he'll just keep pushing and fighting for every little bit of track position he can. But he's also got Marsland and Bush closing in behind. They've dropped Russell Clark off the back of their 2-car train. 5 laps to go. Russell Clark's about to get gobbled up by Scott Barton on his recovery. And Darren Lassou as well, who's kept it very, very quiet as well. Kept it out of trouble and gaining a few spots, up 10. You see that you're up 10 spots, you think that's a pretty good night. But when you see some of the gains that some of the other drivers have made in the race, you're probably not as happy as you could be with some of the big positional changes we've seen.
Yeah, not only the positional changes, but it's, yeah, just keeping an eye out as well with seeing what damage we've got on a few of the cars. But two very clean cars of McKellar and Snell there. We've just seen a lead change. It's probably going to change back on every straight as they draft each other here, but both pretty safe here at the moment there with going too wide there into turn 1.
Yeah, they'll give each other a fair bit of room there through turn 1 as well, but Justin Howe back through on Dennis Hancock. They've managed to get that gap out to 2.8 seconds. This little battle here, I reckon, is the one that's going to get the most spicy coming up towards the end of this race. Stafford Marsland and Jeremy Bush. This is 6th and 7th position on track. These guys will be looking for a very, very good result here. Very, very good bunch of championship points if they can continue this run that they've got at the moment. So I suspect these two are going to fight very, very hard over the next 3 laps.
Yeah, you can see how quickly those laps fall there. Like 15 laps goes so quickly here with only 4 to go. So we're only a few minutes until the end of this race. So yeah, if you're in positions like Darren Lassure and a few others, you really want to get those overtakes done quickly, as we just see the lead change there again for the front.
And Hancock back through on Justin Howe, so those two working together in that they're not fighting for that position at the moment. They're just allowing the other driver to go and using that draft that they can share between each other. Justin Howe using all of the track limits plus more, using that advantage of the draft to alternate positions and break away from Ira Felberg, who is being caught by Jeremy Bush and Stafford Marsland. So Ira Felberg may be in doubt for 5th position to go when they come by now.
You'd almost think that, yeah, if you were Ben Snell or Alex McKellar, you'd be counting the laps down, because you would know, you can see them swapping off on every corner, and then you can imagine if you're a second wheel coming out of Parabolica, just lining them up for the line there. So it's going to almost be like a game of strategy here. Who can get that draft going into the Parabolica? So we're going to have, I think it's Ben Snell there, his second wheel here behind Alex McKellar. So we're seeing breeze on through at the moment. I think there's a lap car just up ahead.
I believe that is Sean Doyle that they're just coming past. That was very, very close between the two as they're about to get the white flag last lap once they cross the start-finish line. Ben Snell, 2nd position behind Alex McKellar. And they're about to cross the line, so the line is here. And McKellar would have won the race if that was the last lap, but this is the last one this time. As you said, timing that run, making sure you're in the right position out of Parabolica or into Parabolica is going to be the crucial part of this run here, side by side. They're going to stay side by side for the remainder of this lap, I would feel.
There we go, Alex McKellar up the inside, but Ben Snell probably getting just a little bit momentum there. So we're going to say it's almost like a cycling sprint there with Alex McKellar. You can see a bit of a wave there from Ben Snell. So he's going to cover off that inside line, which good strategy there. Alex McKellar will have to come around the outside. Oh,
that was close.
And it does look like it's going to be a side-by-side drag race to the end there. Alex McKellar, oh, about a wheel out there, about a thing.
Oh, who's going to get it? Ben Snell. Just 29 thousandths of a second. Ben Snell just gets there. Dennis Hancock will hold off from Justin Howe, and Ira Felberg just gets Jeremy Bush. He dropped off Stafford Marsland. 14 thousandths of a second between Felberg and Bush there, but Ben Snell, Alex McKellar, 200ths of a second, 29 thousandths of a second between them. That was a fantastic finish. Ben Snell just timed it right. He stuck in behind coming out of the, or into the Parabolica, and then made sure that he had that run and momentum. Great finish for those guys. That was a bizarre race, but a very, very fantastic race. And I must say, if that's what we've seen for race 1, the second race of the night is going to be very, very action-packed. Here's the results. Snell from McKellar, as we said, 29 thousandths of a second. Hancock and Howe only separated by just under a tenth, 1 car length. Felberg and Bush separated by 14 thousandths of a second. Then we've got Marsland, Barton, Lassue, and Russell Clark holds on to 10th position. A race of what might have been for everyone in this list. Braden Martin, Stuart Crawford, Cameron Cousins, Tim Cornt all finished the race on the lead lap. Then the race of attrition behind Summers, Wilkinson, Heddershide, Verne, Russell, Chastanoof. And I've got Doyle, Williams, John, and Perez. All did not finish the race. That's race 1 done. We're going to have a very, very quick break and a word from our sponsors. But when we come back, it'll be race 2 around this absolutely underrated circuit here at Monza. This is the junior layout. You're watching the Ozicar Skip Barber Series. We'll be back very, very soon.
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year. But the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker. Especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs. Any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. It feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
Fortunes of many will change during the night, but already 12 have dropped out. But it's not so bad when you're the first car through, like Paddy Hopko, and here's his main rival, Constantin and Alpha. Standard has been driven flat out from the word go, but it's still got plenty of steam.
Siamo quasi arrivati? Ancora 1 chilometro.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Section's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Welcome back to Monza with the Fifth round of Season 6 of the Ozicar Skip Barber Series. Before we get into the next race, the main event, the feature race for tonight, let's have a quick look at the championship standings before that race. Just then, Ben Snell leading the championship. He picks up another 50 points from that race there. McKellar second, so he'll pick up 49. But all of the drivers that have missed out on big points just there, you can see James Chastanoff, Nathan Verne, Russell Clark, Dennis Hancock. He had a great race there, so he'll bump up some spots. But Dean Russell, Tim Cornt, Sean Doyle all had shockers as well. Going to be a very, very mixed up championship after we finish tonight's racing. There's Jay Kennedy and Nick Scrayev here as we get ready for qualifying in race 2. Let's have a quick look at this circuit, because we've said that it's a very, very different layout. Different is probably an understatement there.
Yeah, so we're just zooming in here on Italy, Monza. Don't know my geography too well, but Monza being up in the north there, probably amongst some mountains and some vineyards, no doubt.
Just out of Milan. That's Milan right there, and there's the track.
And up there, really nice golf course, but we're using the that really small junior circuit there. You can see the oval, the classic oval, and also Grand Prix layout as well.
Yep, so basically using one corner from the actual Grand Prix layout, that being Parabolica, but we cut the corner just before turn 1, rejoin on the back straight out of the Asparrow chicane. So very, very short layout. This layout was actually created in 1959, so it has been around for a long time, but very rarely used. But in saying that, it is almost perfectly designed for the Skip Barber Series cars. It's fantastic fun in these cars. I've driven in a few different series with these cars before around this circuit, and I must say every time we have racing in these cars, it does put on a show. Wasn't quite the show we were expecting in race 1, but I think race 2, the drivers will be a little bit more clear-headed, drive a little bit more conservative, and probably will try and wait a little bit to fight for those positions rather than fighting as early on as they did. They saw how you can wait to fight for those positions till later on in the races.
So it is going to be a little bit of redemption here. As you can see, I think the majority of that top 10 in the championship all having issues there, asides from I think it was Dennis Hancock, Ben Snell, and Alex McKellar. So really tight championship, and with so many top drivers here as well, so qualifying is going to be super important to try and get yourself up the front here. So at the moment, looking at one of the Simfinity cars there. Oh,
Tara Felberg?
Car 05, Ira Felberg. Ira having a car number 5, having a top 5 finish. You'd be pretty pumped with that.
His teammates and Stuart Crawford, he did not have the best result. I think he finished in the 11th or 12th position. He did finish on the lead lap. Just we get qualifying officially underway. We've got a few drivers who have started their lap. We'll find the driver that is going to be the first time across. That will be James Chastanoff. We'll see what he can do. Lap times are going to be around about the 58 to 59 second bracket. You can see the drivers dip into the 57s in race trim with draft, but we won't see that in this qualifying session. Amazing to think that you're already halfway through a lap as you're coming through there. You've come through one corner and you're already halfway done.
And we'll definitely see these lap times really tumble down these radial tyres and Skip Barbers. It's going to take a little bit to get up to temperature there, and you will see them wiggle around a little bit. Very low powered engines, so generally don't step out too much, and with an open differential they're usually quite safe there. But probably the biggest thing is you can see them coming into the corners is when they really start to slide there, with James Chastanoff with a 58.395, Scott Barland to the top already, but we will see these numbers come down a little bit.
Definitely will. Daniel Hedderscheid, our solo Kiwi in the field. See what he can do as he crosses the line. We'll see the drivers cut that final corner, or that little kink at the start finish line, a lot more as they come up to complete their final laps, but a 58.5 puts him right in the middle of the pack at this stage. Christian Perez about to come out of the pits to start his lap. He'll be looking for some redemption. He'll be feeling a little bit sore and sorry after that first race. Alex John, another driver, he'll be very, very disappointed with how race 1 turned out. You can see that's the little cut that we'll see drivers doing towards the end of these runs. 58.3, very, very good banker lap to start this run.
Yeah, we'll see. Scott Barton there hasn't been knocked there off the top as of yet, but we've seen, yeah, you can see almost that top 5 only split by 1/10 of a second. So it's really starting to fire up here on the north side, but we would expect we'd see McKellar and Snell really starting to put the pressure on this top 5 here.
Yep, we'll see what McKellar can do now. His first lap was a 58.2. He's done another 58.2 on his second lap. Russell Clark's gone quicker on his second lap. He's now on his third lap. Tim Court and Alex John separated by 1/1000th of a second for 6th and 7th, so nothing separating those guys at the moment either. Ty Field separated by 1.4 seconds, but the top 18 separated by under a second at this present stage. Russell Clark comes across the line and does not improve on lap number 3, but I'm pretty sure he's setting it up for a run on this final lap. Scott Barton also in his final lap. Just seeing Braden Martin is around. Leon Williams about to cross the line to start his complete his first lap, and that's a little bit off the pace. He'll be looking to improve on that on his first run. Peter Wilkinson about to finish his first lap as well. So drivers taking a little bit of time to start their runs. You do have that full 10 minutes, and the drivers, it looks like, are actually going to use them because they have a lot more time tonight as opposed to normally. You want to rush out and get those laps in as Ben Snell goes to P1, as Christian Perez goes to P1. So the field's starting to shop and change around. Scott Barton about to make his final run to the line on his final lap. See what he can do, whether he can improve. Very, very low 58's now the target time.
Yeah, you could just imagine just those tyres warming up a little bit and that fuel coming down ever so slightly there. But yeah,
Clark.
Scott Barton unable to knock back on that top step there. So Russell Clark, the upper hand there at the moment with a almost 58 flat there. Or Ben Snell coming through, breaking that 58 second mark there with a 57.869 there. So.
And Christian Perez is on his final lap. But watch Alex John though. He's a driver that I think is the most to gain in this race tonight. In this second race, of course, he had a great start to race 1, but had an issue through turn 1 on lap 5 and dropped way down the order. He'll be looking for some redemption. We'll see what he can do here. 58.168 is his best. He needs to find 0.003 of a second to gain 3 spots. And I'll tell you what, he's found a lot more than that. He goes to P3 with a very, very nice lap. 58.077. Christian Perez is finished his run. He has done no more laps for him. Darren Lassou is on his second lap. So he's still got a couple more in the bank. But Leon Williams is about to cross the line to finish his final lap. And we'll say that, Leon, you probably would have found about 2 or 3/10 of a second if you had to cut that final corner a little bit more. He finished with a 59 flat, as Nathan Verne has also just finished his run. Justin Howe and Darren Lassou, Peter Wilkinson, they're the drivers that have still got laps in hand, looking to punch out a quicker time. It looks like Howe's had an issue because he's coming out for a second run. But Darren Lassou about to come and finish his third lap. Peter Wilkinson has just started his third lap.
Yeah, one thing to note there, Jay, Alex McKellar down in 6th there, so going to make it pretty hard for himself now, trying to get back up there with Ben Snell there. Obviously, 1st and 2nd there in the championship. We've seen Peter Wilkinson spun around on his own there, so not too sure what's going on there. Justin Howe back in the pits again, so he's well down the order for Justin Howe. But, Peter Wilkinson again having, a few minor troubles here in qualifying, but Ben Snell is going to be pretty happy there 5 spots ahead of there of Alex McKellar. So McKellar going to have to try and get his way through the field to the front there.
100%. He's going to be very, very happy with that qualifying. I must say, 0.3 of a second from 1st to 7th. Very, very tight qualifying. A second behind at the moment is Peter Wilkinson. And he's in 20th position. You're not going to find many series and many tracks that produce that close a qualifying across a big field of 20 cars. This is going to be our final lap we will see in qualifying, because everyone else has done all of their laps or has decided to park the car, as Wilkinson almost loops it around through turn 1. The only left-hander on the circuit at turn 2, then back through turn 3. Power on, away he goes, and he's got a fair bit to find in regards to everyone else around him, so he might be able to gain some time even with those mistakes there on that lap.
Yeah, another one as well. Nathan Verne also well down the order as well. We did see him in race 1. Unfortunately, crashing out was a lot further up the front there. So 19th place there for Nathan Verne, going to be very difficult. Seen a few problems from a few of the top drivers, but as you can see, a pretty stacked field here. So very easily to find yourself well outside the top 10 if you're not paying attention.
Personal best lap for Wilkinson, but it will not boost him up the order, so he will not improve. That is his 4 laps done. He's now on his 5th lap, so the only driver that could post another lap time is Darren Lasue, but he is done as well. So let's go through our starting grid for race number 2 tonight here at Monza Junior. And Ben Snell picks up another front row start, pole position for him alongside Russell Clark. Team Milo 1 and 2 with Alex John and Christian Perez on row number 2. Row 3, James Chastanoof and Alex McKellar. Then we go over the page to Scott Barton and Dennis Hancock, Tim Corn and Braden Martin 9th and 10th. Daniel Hederscheid and Sean Doyle on row 6. Row 7 is Stuart Crawford and Ira Felberg. Jeremy Bush, Dean Russell on row 8. Darren Lasue, Stafford Marsland on the 9th row of the grid. And then our final drivers, Nathan Verne, Peter Wilkinson, Leon Williams, Justin Howe, Cameron Cousins. And there was one other driver that we have missed from race 1. So we've lost one in the progression from race 1 to race 2. We get ready to go racing for the second time tonight.
Yeah, that's right. So throwing a bit of strategy into the mix there, needing that compulsory pit stop. So they will need to take 2 tyres here. So being such a short race and such a tight track, it probably isn't too pertinent on whether or not you take the fronts or the rears, but it'll usually see the most of them take 2 fronts there.
Yep. It's much smarter to go the 2 front option, more so for the fact that easier to heat the front tyres up, and we've seen drivers that have made the mistake of taking the 2 rears find themselves a little bit out of control on that first lap, a little bit harder to find the pace back up. Really been 2 strategies as well throughout this championship over time. You pit very, very early or you pit very, very late. I think with the nature of the circuit though, pitting too early could cause you some trouble with traffic. So traffic management is going to be very, very key. I don't think we're going to see as many pit early as we normally would tonight.
Yeah, and it's Monza having that really wide pit entry, but also so much time can be saved as well if you can really jump on that brakes and hit that control line bang on perfect.
Yep, 100%. Of course, no pit limiter in these cars either, so have to be careful of that factor as well. 25 laps on the board, or 25 minutes, whichever comes first. It will be laps, 95% sure. Estimated race time of 24 minutes and 11 seconds plus pit stops. We're just waiting for the 2-minute countdown to complete. Drivers getting ready, revs are rising, here we go. And green flag flies very, very quickly. Very even jump at the front, but a very good jump from Christian Perez. He's going to tuck in right behind Alex John instantly to try and make some ground. And does get that position back in the field. Looks like everyone else is going to get through turn 1 okay. We've got through turn 1 okay this time.
Yeah, a little bit cleaner there than race 1 there, so maybe a little bit more cautious after seeing those incidents there. Still seeing it is Snell and Clark there at the front, so Team Milo 1 and 2 protecting their spots pretty well there, but you can see I think that's Christian Perez on the hunt there as well.
See if anyone does decide to jump into the lane. I would suspect if people do come in, it will be in groups of 2 or 3. Perez is going to come in by himself. We're also seeing Hancock come in, and one of the 111 cars, that Ira Felberg by the looks, and also in, no, just those 3. So very, very small number of cars that have come into the pits. We've got 3 wide, almost 4 wide coming into turn 1 in the midfield, and still 3 wide car around. And that was Stuart Crawford, wasn't it? No, Daniel Hederscheid around.
Yeah, Hederscheid having an absolute terror of a round. So incidents in first and second race. So yeah, not a great round there for the New Zealanders. Maybe one he'd rather forget there.
Alex John looking to make a move on Russell Clark, and does so. Alex McCullough just through on James Chastaneuf, but these front 6, I should say, have broken a fairly substantial margin already to Braden Martin. Martin was the lead car in that secondary group we saw that was 4 odd wide into turn 1. So we've got another car coming in. That's Dean Russell in, is it? No, Tim Corn in, sorry. Also in is Jeremy Bush. Which, looks like they've come out okay in regards to traffic. They're around about half a lap behind us. There's big, big smoke clouds ahead of these guys coming into turn 1 as there's a car sideways. That was Nathan Verne, wasn't it? No, Darren Lassou around, and he's lost his rear wing.
Really unfortunate there for Darren, having a really great first race, and it does not look like he's going really too far. That looks like he will have to jump on that tow hook as we go to a VRS replay.
He's actually decided to park it after that. We'll see what's happened there. I think he's just gone in too hot. Yeah, he has. All on his own. So I guess the positive thing out of that is he can't blame anyone but himself, but still won't be too happy. He's just seeing Alex John in the pits, Sean Doyle in the pits, Scott Barton in the pits. I'm a little surprised by this. I didn't think that we would see teammates not pit together, because drafting and working with someone has been so key in the racing tonight. Is Ben Snell around at turn 1?
Yeah, so pretty big news there. Championship leader and winner of race 1. So he's going to be absolutely kicking himself. I did see a big plume of smoke there off the straight. I think he might have just a bit too aggressive there on the brakes, and massive lock up there by Ben Snell. So it's going to make it pretty hard for himself to kind of work his way back there. I'm just trying to keep an eye out there for Christian Perez. So he was in that lead group when he did take the pits there, so he's going to be almost a yardstick to the strategy.
Yep, come out ahead of Alex John, but only just. So pace is pretty similar. And these guys here in this new lead group, as Sean Doyle decides he's had enough, he's jumping out of that group. These 3 here, that being Clark, McCullough, Chastaneuf, they will now see that Perez and Alex John are together at on circuit. So that is very, very crucial for them to understand that. Alex John will be, no doubt, handing that information over to his teammate in Alex McCullough. Brain wasn't working there for a second. It's decided to switch off early.
Yeah, it is, and it is great seeing a few of those moves as well. So not forgetting Justin Howe starting almost at the back of the grid there. So he's, all things considered, with all the pit stops, he has moved up quite a bit of the way through, as well as Alex McCullough starting in 6th place. So that is really playing into his hands now, with Ben Snell having that incident there only a few laps ago.
Yeah, those guys that are just coming out of the pits, that was the car of Peter Wilkinson who just came out of the pits. He was only just ahead of these guys, so maybe pitting early is the right move, because these guys here at the front are now going to have the traffic. They may use that to their advantage over the next 2 laps. That could be enough to get them a gap, but too many cars from the back of the field come in now. Could hurt these guys rather than help. McKellar, Clark and Chastanuff with a fairly substantial lead now, out to 5, nearly 6 seconds over Braden Martin. But I reckon in the next 3 laps we're going to see these front couple pit.
So yeah, Alex McKellar and that very much staying the course there, staying right in the centre there. We're seeing Russell Clark pull out, so he's going to take over the race lead here at the moment, as we're just seeing Justin Howe. So started 22nd, up into 7th at the moment. He's going to jump into pits. It's going to bump him down the order a bit, as well as Stafford Marsland, who we haven't seen too much of there, having a pretty quiet run at the moment.
Christian Perez and Alex John now starting to use that draft to their advantage, working together. 35.5 seconds is the gap between these two and our leaders. That is where we need to keep an eye on lap time wise. These two though are a lot quicker. That lap by Perez 58.2, Alex John 57.9, the leaders 58.1, 58.0. So Alex John quicker than Clark, McKellar and Chastanuff on that last lap. So we've got Dean Russell just come out just ahead of Justin Howe from his pit stop. As we're about to see Stafford Marsland. He's going to come out right with that lead group. He's done a good job to make sure he hasn't got involved with them. Scott Barton not too far ahead as well. He'll probably be passed by these guys within the next 2 laps. What that means though, McKellar, Clark, Chastanuff may get some draft off Scott Barton. That could help them over the next 2 laps, break that gap. We said it was 35.5. It is still 35.5 seconds.
Yeah, being such a short track and not being too technical in nature there, like the lap gains are only few and far between there. We're seeing a 111 car there with a lot of damage there. So Ira Felberg possibly having an incident there. His wheels aren't pointing exactly straight there. We'll cut to a VRS replay.
Turn 1 on the previous lap. That's Dean Russell having a moment, and Felberg's just gone to avoid making contact with him and hasn't been able to pull it up and just driven it into the wall. Unfortunately, it's broken the front right suspension, and a fair bit of the rest of the car looks pretty beaten, broken and hurt as well. So unfortunately,
very lucky to get out of the way of the that lead pack too. We just saw them come around the outside of him as he pushed off the circuit there. So it looks like
Cameron Cousins in taking front tyres, you can see. Stuart Crawford also in the pits taking front tyres. Russell Clark, Alex McKellar and James Chastanuff continue to chop and change positions. Gap between these guys and Perez and John, the leaders of our pit stop cars. 35.5 seconds. This is very, very tight. In the pits comes Russell Clark. I think he's realised that those guys ahead may hinder rather than help in their fight with Perez and John.
Yeah, so then there were 2 there. You can see a very different line taken by Alex McKellar and James Chastanuff. McKellar taking that really wide apex there while Chastanuff defending there on the inside. Oh, very, very close there, and a very small moment there by Alex McKellar. So exactly what you were saying. I think these two might actually be hindering each other. So we could see Alex McKellar coming into the pits now to try and limit that damage to their lead to Perez and Hancock.
Have a look at the gap. Russell Clark has come out. What's that? Half a second between he and Alex John. 1.1 is the official gap at the moment. Alex John will close that up by the end of the lap. And it'll be literally nothing because they will use that draft. Chastanuff's realised how close that is. And he's left McKellar out all on his lonesome. I'm going to say McKellar will be in this lap because have a look at the draft and how much it's working. Although Russell Clark's using the lap down car there of Stuart Crawford to his advantage. Crawford's going to get out of the way. You realise that these guys are fighting a lap ahead. Russell Clark, the effective race leader at this moment. Although it is very, very close between he, Chastanoof, and McCullough. Chastanoof out of the pits. Long wait to get on the power again. There he goes. And there goes Russell Clark.
Oh, I think very lucky
Oh,
there.
no! Chastanoof into Stuart Crawford. Stuart Crawford, when he's rejoined after a huge lock-up from Alex John. So Alex John has a huge moment here. In compensation, Stuart Crawford goes straight ahead as well. He has a massive lock-up as well. Actually, there was contact there. Or was there contact? But watch this rejoin. Oh, Chastanoof was way out of control. And he had his own moment.
Also very lucky there for Chastanoof to, I was going to say, managed to get out there without any damage here. This is just a replay there. Oh, you can see that bent steering arm there, so that's going to make it hard for him to continue. Potentially might have to come back in the pits there and repair that damage. So, action aplenty here around that around this pit stop window here that we're seeing. So, still got McKellar out there at the moment. He has not come in yet. Potentially this lap here is, I think he might have just crossed the line. So McKellar's still choosing to stay out here at the moment. He is got a few lap cars in front of him now, so he's going to make it really hard to get through.
Perez, though, 34.5 seconds behind the leader. So that is a big difference. The last lap by Perez was the slowest out of this group because these guys were having issues with those other cars. Of course, we saw just then on the VRS replay that moment. So Ben Snell on his recovery, he's got Braden Martin right behind him. Of course, we saw Ben Snell have a moment early on in this one as well. He's continued on and straight ahead at turn 1. Uncharacteristic mistake for Ben Snell. He's been almost perfect throughout this season, but that's probably the biggest error we've seen from him this entire championship so far. And even then, it's not that big.
Yeah, it's you can see these Team Island cars just being so strong there, but just some really bad luck there, unfortunately, playing into their hands. But we're just seeing a big lock up there of Braden Martin in behind. He might be pushing a little bit too hard there, trying to stick under that rear wing there. You can see the Ben Snell keeping a little bit of a tighter line there through that chicane, and looks like another lap of traffic car up ahead, so making it really complicated as we're just catching up with.
It's Russell Clark through on Christian Perez, and Alex John just in behind these guys. Just noticed too that Alex John a couple of laps ago did the fastest lap of the race, a 57.5. So very quick lap times from him. Ira Felberg and Darren Lassu have decided to park their cars for the remainder of the race. They have too much damage from their incidents. Of course, Lassu we saw have a moment through turn 1 where he backed it in, and Ira Felberg, that was him almost being too courteous and trying to avoid contact with another car, took himself out.
Yeah, it's not normally you see this on the Aussie car rounds, these single car incidents, but yeah, it's something that's not so technical. I think they're just pushing it so hard there on the limit, just making these really minor mistakes there, and unfortunately the open wheeler of Skip Barber not very forgiving there at all. You can see how easy it is, even if brushing a wall there can make quite a lot of difference to the aero and the suspension of these.
Big thanks, of course, to Simfinity and Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving for their support of the Ozicar Skip Barber Series. Big thanks, guys, for your continued support of this. It's amazing to think that we're already into Season 6 and starting to plan Season 7 of this series. I remember it wasn't that long ago that Ira messaged me. He's like, I want to run another series. What do I run? What cars do you think would be good? And I instantly said, Skippies. Instantly, without hesitation. And it's turned into an amazing championship over the past 5.5 seasons.
and has such a really dedicated driver base as well. Like I'll jump in on maybe the Skip Official Series, and I always end up catching the likes of Sean Doyle and Dennis Hancock. Oh, and I've seen James Chastanoff as well. So many of this field, and that's exactly why it's a stacked field. Like they really put in the effort and the practice here on the Skip Barber cars.
Tim Court just got through on Sean Doyle. This is for 10th, 11th. And the car behind, I believe, is Stuart Crawford, who's just limping around with a little bit of damage from that hit with he and James Chastanoff. Chastanoff's pace has dropped off as well from that incident we saw earlier. So he will be hurting and probably will be susceptible to Dennis Hancock in the next little bit. We've got 9 laps to go, so McKellar probably knows at this point that he's in a little bit of trouble. Although, that gap has stabilised. It hasn't reduced below 34 seconds for a little while. So, McKellar's pace is still fairly strong at the front. And he's getting a little bit of draft help from all of these cars that he's lapping at the same time.
Yeah, that potentially might be just giving him that little bit, everyone being really courteous and letting him through. So, hopefully for him, he can make the drafts there up on the straight, but not lose too much time there on the corners.
Last lap in the 57s again, and that group behind doing 57.9 to 58.1. So he's lapping pretty consistently the same pace at this point right now. Only 8 laps to go. Feels like when you see 8 laps to go in a Skippy race, it's going to take a long time. Around this track, less than 1 minute lap times. It's not very often that you see less than 1 minute lap time in a Skip Barber. You know how short and technical a track it's going to be. There's Russell Clark back through on Perez. Alex John. Oh, mistake though for Clark. He's gone way too deep, and that's given the spot back to Perez and John. What that will do when they do see someone at the front make the error like that, that will help Alex McKellar out. So McKellar will be very, very thankful knowing that there's been a mistake, because I'm sure Alex John has told him that there's been a mistake. McKellar will be happy. Ben Snell and Braden Martin are actually closing a little bit too on Alex McKellar. So it's definitely not over, but you would think at the moment McKellar is going to come out behind Clark ahead of Chastanoff, but he'll be close enough to be in draft if he can nail his pit stop, that is. Ben Snell, Braden Martin are probably going to be with Chastanoff and Hancock. So we're going to have some really interesting battles in these last couple of laps after these guys do their final stop.
Yeah, also take into account too, though, with McKellar, he'll be coming out there with cold front tyres as well, so there'll be a lot of pressure to try and get those up to temperature as quick as he can. So the other three will have the upper hand on him with that slightly better front grip there. But McKellar, pretty talented driver there, should be able to stick with them.
Saw Dennis Hancock get through on James Chastanoff, so Chastanoff now back into 9th position on the road. Gap 1st to 5th, so non-pitters to pitters, 34.1 seconds now, so it is dropping a little, but not enough. Last lap by McKellar actually did just shy of his fastest lap of the race. Have a look at how close he was to his fastest lap. 2,000ths off. That's pretty consistent.
Yeah, that's right. He's really putting in a good performance there. Potentially might be pitting now. He did put out something on the race radio, I think, to warn a few others of what he was doing. And yeah, probably noticing his lead coming down a little bit there, keeping him pretty tight around Parabolica. Look, no, maybe he just accidentally knocked the button there, but McKellar definitely trying the long game at the moment. You can just see a few of those cars a little bit further up, as we're just seeing Ben Snell back in the... Oh, sorry, Ben Snell in the pits, as well as Braden Martin there. So they were jostling for that second place. This is going to put them down somewhere around just out in that top 10 there, right at the back.
Yep, put him just behind this group here, ahead of Dennis Hancock based on the times before the stop, as they've got 5 to go now. McKellar still leads, hasn't pitted. Daniel Heddershire, 2nd position, hasn't pitted. Ben Snell, Braden Martin in pit lane now have dropped behind these guys, and this is now a battle for podium positions. effective race lead, this group right here. Christian Perez, Alex John, Russell Clark in 3rd, 4th and 5th position. Amazing how much speed they have through that very, very narrow section of the circuit there.
Yeah, making the most of the little wings there and those road style radial tiles tires there. As we talking tires, a bit of tire smoke there. So everyone finding the limits.
Yep, just ahead of McKellar. I believe it was Jeremy Bush or Scott Barton who are the next group ahead of McKellar. He's got a couple of laps left before he must make it into the pit lane. As Alex John loses the front of that group once more. Russell Clark's been happy and content just being at the back of this train for a couple of laps. After a little mistake we saw him make through turn 1, he's just happy to watch these two ahead fight and work for themselves as expected. Dennis Hancock right with Braden Martin, James Chastaneuf. And these three are fighting amongst themselves now as well.
Yeah, Chastaneuf doing a really good job there, holding pace with that damaged left-hand suspension from that incident that he had, colliding into Stuart Crawford. Being a lap down there, as we're looking at another Simfinity car there, a little bit further up there. I think that's Alex McKellar, so you can just see so much of the lap traffic here at the moment.
Yeah, so just ahead of McKellar is Jeremy Bush, Scott Barton and Nathan Verne. They're the last cars on the lead lap at the moment. I say at the moment because we're going to see them get a little bit of pace back once McKellar comes into the lane, which I'm predicting he'll do now. You'll have to do now, actually, because when he crosses the line, it'll be 2 to go. Any later, it'll be the last lap of the race. So McKellar in. We're going to see Hedderscheid in as well. He's got a fair bit of damage to the back of that car. Of course, we saw him have a spin through turn 1, I think on the 2nd or 3rd lap of this race. So he's had some issues throughout this one, but it is on now. Very, very important pit stop here for Alex McKellar. And they've dropped Alex John. Now, Alex John was with Clark and Perez, so something's happened there on this lap. Just meant that John has dropped back, but here comes Clark, here comes Perez. They're about to come across the control line, 2 to go. McKellar is moving. Where is he going to come out? He's going to come out right behind them in perfect position to get a run on them on the last lap. He's going to sit there for these 2 laps, you can feel.
Yeah, great work there by Alex McKellar. Wasn't too sure if it was going to be a little bit of a gap there on these two, but pulled it in nice and tightly there. You can just see that lap car up ahead of him. I'm sure that they'll get out of the way of this tree here, but it's really hotting up there now. Alex McKellar is going to be on new tyres, so we'll be pushing pretty hard there to get those up to temperature. You can just see a little gap there forming, but he'll be able to pull that back in on the next straight.
White flag will fly when they cross the line here. Christian Perez leading this group. Russell Clark 2nd, Alex McKellar 3rd. It is between these 3 now. Alex John is way back, 3.5 seconds off this pack. He's got Ben Snell closing in. White flag flies, and Russell Clark is going to try and make the move into turn 1 and then defend from there. No, he backs out early, trying to force Christian Perez into a potential mistake. And this helps Alex McKellar. He's going to get double draft down the back straight, triple draft even from Justin Howe as well, who is a lap down, about to go 2 laps down on these guys. But Perez, Clark, McKellar is your battle for the win. And any of these 3 could take it based on the race that we've seen so far. Howe's going to have to try and get out of the way. Perez just leading into Parabolica, but the exit is crucial. Who's going to get the run? Perez is going to cover off. It looks like Perez is going to take this just based on the way he's covered it off. He's coming into the pit lane. Clark's going to take the win. Something's happened to Perez there. He's had to drive into the pit lane. Alex John's got 3rd. Perez is crossing 4th, and Ben Snell in 5th. What has happened to Christian Perez?
That's I did not know that was going to happen there. We did see Christian Perez there covering off the inside line, so pretty unorthodox finish there. He had some pretty bad luck in race one with that incident, but having some good luck there, getting that that big draft there from that lap car there of Justin House. So we'll have to cut back to the replay and see
Watch
what's
this.
going on there.
Chastaneuf, Martin, Hancock across the line, side by side, nothing in it. James Chastaneuf got that over Braden Martin by 0.003 of a second. So congratulations to James Chastaneuf and holding on to that position. But there was literally nothing in it between those guys at the line. Either 0.003 of a second between Chastaneuf and Martin. But congratulations to Russell Clark. Victory in race 2 here at Monza Junior. I tell you what, this is going to be a very, very fun interview coming up. Race results up on screen though before we get into interviews. Clark from McKellar from John. We may see this timing change when everyone has crossed the line, I believe. Has everyone crossed? Potentially? They have, so it is now official. Clark, McKellar, John, Perez and Snell. The top 5. Chastaneuf just from Braden Martin, Dennis Hancock. Tim Court finishes in 9th position. Daniel Hederscheid, great result considering where we saw him at the end of lap 2 with that damage to the rear wing. Staying out long. Definitely worked for him. Scott Barton in P number 11. Then we've got Nathan Verne, Jeremy Bush, Peter Wilkinson, Dean Russell, Cam Cousins, Stafford Marsland and Sean Doyle all finishing on the lead lap. Then we got Leon Williams, Stuart Crawford, Justin Howe all finishing the race, and then DNFs for Ira Felberg and Darren Lassou. So it's good when you've got your second race, your longer race, having more finishes than your short race, the first race.
Yeah, and we've seen so many chops and changes there as well. We saw like with Ben Snell having that incident quite early on there, but able to just chip away there. Like 25 minutes is, well, it is a sprint race, so it's still quite a short race, but you can see that merit in there, but just chipping away and being able to get those consistent lap times in. We even saw with Alex as well, so many consistent lap times, and you can see that's really why he was at the front here. Let's
talk to Alex now. Alex McKellar, congratulations on P2. Probably not the result you would have wanted considering the pace you had and where you were for so much of the race, but how that race played out, you didn't know where you could have finished in that one.
No, absolutely. G'day, Jay. G'day, Nick. Yeah, look, challenging, small track, lots of cars, lap traffic everywhere. When do you pit? When do you not? Traffic management was a big part of that. And you're right, it was sort of a roll of the dice at the end there where you come out and when do you pit and when do you have to, how long do you want to manage those cold tyres? And unfortunately for me, at the end there, coming out right at the right spot, but on the wrong equipment, so to speak.
Hindsight, would you have pitted maybe 2 laps earlier so you had something left at the end?
Potentially. You know, it might have been good to just hang on there in the draft and then have a crack at the end there. So, you know, it's a lesson. Maybe next time, as you say, might do things a little differently.
Talk us through what happened at the end there. Christian Perez diving into the pit lane on the last lap. What happened there? We're confused. You might be able to help us out.
He's an enigmatic character, Mr. Perez. He's one of the top drivers in the world. He most recent 2K Cup champion in the Skip Barbers, which is the unofficial world championship of the skips. Classy guy. And, you know, the only thing I can think of that he was doing was moving aside to have as little impact on the championship as possible. He raced here the first time for Silverstone, and I think his availability has been pretty short or slim, so he hasn't raced again until tonight. And perhaps that's his way of just, you know, stepping aside, enjoying the racing as much as possible, but standing aside to stay out of the way of the championship as much as he could.
1 round to go in that championship that you talk about. Bathurst next round. Thoughts? You're looking forward to it? A track that you enjoy?
The sacred home of Australian motorsport, absolutely. It's fantastic in the skips, in the right company, which we're in, which is great. Look, really tough to claw back Mr. Snell from here, so battling realistically to do what I can in that regard, and then hold off. I think it's either Chastity or Russell, depending on how the points shake out tonight. So, really looking to consolidate second and maybe see what I can do about that first spot on the ladder.
Well, congratulations on the podium in the main race tonight. Anyone that you would like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, thanks to Ira and the crew, of course, for putting on the season. I think the series is going from strength to strength and improving each time, which is really great to see. It's a representation of their investment. Thanks to yourselves for putting on the broadcast, and my teammate, the good doctor, for being out there on track and having a bit of fun again tonight.
Alex McKellar, P2 tonight. We'll go to the race winner from the main event, Russell Clark. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Nibbles.
Talk us through that race there and that battle that you were having there, that 3-car battle that turned into 2 at the end with Christian and Alex.
Yeah, well, it wasn't so much a battle as it was working together. I'm pretty sure we're all basically on the same page, trying to use the drive to keep the gap to Alex as much as possible, to McKellar, that is. And yeah, we all cooperated reasonably well. Made a few mistakes here and there, but that's what you expect from me. At the end, I kind of felt more like a second place finish with Christian pulling off at the end like that, but still, I'll take it.
Talk us through race 1 though. Didn't quite go as nicely as that second one, but probably a little bit cooler heads in that second race as well.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the second one better. First one, those 4 wides were pretty fun for the first lap and a half, and then it all ended. But the way I saw that, it was just a racing incident. I cocked up the corner, went a bit wide, a bit slow. Perez just drifted wide, understeered on coldish tyres, and yeah, there's nothing really in it. Just those things happen sometimes. Disappointing, but what else?
Probably made to look worse when there's so many cars so tightly together as well.
Yeah, I'm glad they fixed the damage model, though. A couple of weeks ago, that would have been an instant death.
Yep, 100%. It's 1 round to go in this championship. We head to Bathurst next round. Are you looking forward to that one? What are your chances and what are your thoughts going ahead?
I always look forward to Bathurst. Myself, Ben, and both the Alexes, we've all had plenty of great races around there together, so I'm looking forward to having a couple more. Hopefully we'll all be up the front fighting for the win.
Fingers crossed we will chat to you after that race next week. But before we let you go tonight, who would you like to thank?
No one really, but Ben says hi.
Hello to Ben, who is watching now after not getting the result that he would have wanted in race 2 after one. I think that's his first mistake for the whole season.
Except for that spin last week.
Look, we're letting that go. Congratulations.
I remember them all.
Congratulations.
Never forget. Cheers. Bye.
So as we said, next week we head to the Mount Panorama Bathurst for the final round of the championship. Nick, what are your thoughts on Bathurst next week?
Yeah, it's really finishing with a bang there. So we've seen such close racing there at Bathurst with those long straights and those really unforgiving walls there. So yeah, really, really excited to see what's going to come of that. I reckon even that championship might even be a little bit closer now with Alex and McKellar closing in that gap there on Ben Snell.
Yep, got a couple of points back in that second race, and anything can happen and often does at Mount Panorama. You can catch that next week at the same time here on Simspeed TV on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch. But until then, we thank you very, very much for watching. If you are watching us on those platforms, we are about to go live for our second broadcast of the night. That is the ODSE Big Block. No, it's not the Big Block. It's the 360 Power Series. Remember what series we're doing, but we head to Cedar Lake for that round tonight of dirt racing action. But until next time in the Skip Barber Series, we need to thank our partners behind the scenes who help get it done. That is Infinity and Prestige Trophy, Badge and Engraving. We thank you very, very much for watching here at Monza, and we will see you at Bathurst.
This has fantastic. This is GT Racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled! Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god! God, what?